So we are now doing our May June 2021 set 43 here. So this is our paper 4. The first question, Yasmin and Zach share amount of money in a ratio of 21:19. Yasmin receives 6 more than Jack. So calculate the total amount that money that they share. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to find the difference first in the ratio part. The difference is 2. Okay. So you know that 2 ratio is actually 6. So 1 ratio will be 3. So if this is the case, when you take 21 plus 19, you will get your total ratio as 40. So take this 40, multiply with 3, you will get your final answer as 120. So that's how you get the results of this. In the sales, all the prices are reduced by 15%. Yasmin buy a blouse with an original price of 40. Okay, calculate the sales price of the blouse. So you have to take 100 minus 15%. Then you know that the balance that we need to pay is only 85. So 40 times 85, you should be able to get your final results here, which is 34. Moving on to part B, Zach buy a shirt with a sales price of $29.75. Find the original. So this $29.75 is actually the price after the discount. So original times 85%, you get $29.75. So the original would actually be $29.75 divided by 85%. So you will get your final answer as $35. So that's how you trace the price of this. Moving on to part B, Xavier's salary increased by 2% each year. Okay, in 2010 it was 40,100. Okay, calculate his salary in 2015. So if this is the case, then what I would do is actually by taking 40,100 times 102% to the power of 5, you get your answer as 44,273.64, but they say corrected to the nearest dollar. That's why I rounded up to 44,274. So the year will be 5. It is by taking 2015 minus 2010. So that's how I get the 5 years here. And the 102% is actually 100%, which is the original amount, adding up with the percentage of increase. So from this, you will get 44,273.64. Corrected to nearest dollar, it will be 44,274. So in what year Xavier's salary is first greater than 47,500? So the answer is actually 40,100 times 102%, just that the power is unknown here, and the price will be 47,500. So when you adjust this accordingly, you will get this result. Okay, and then I will be using logarithm here. Log 102%, 475.00, 401.00 goes to the numbers of years. So the final answer will actually be 8.55 years. Okay, but since there's no 8.55, you must round up to the nearest, which is about 9 years later. So for 9 years, it will be when it is 2010 plus 9, 2019 as the final answer. In C, they say in 2020, the population of the town was 5% more than its population of 2018. in 2021 is 2% less than January 2020. So your 2018 will be 100%. 2020 it will be 105%. Then 2021 is actually 2% lesser, which is 105% times 98%. So by doing so, you will get your answers as about 102.9%. So as compared to these two, you will now find the difference as 2.9%. Okay, so that's how you trace the difference here. Moving on to question 2, they want you to find the value of y. Okay, so just substitute it accordingly, then you should be able to get the results. So y equals to 3 times 2 to the power of 2 minus 13. The results will be -1. Rearrange and make x the subjects here. You got px squared equals to y minus t. X squared equals to y minus t over p. X is actually square root of y minus t over p. Remember to put plus minus because there is a square root. Moving on, we are required to factorize our 15x squared minus 2x minus 8. So key in 15, -2 and -8, you will get your answers as. So the two results that we are getting will be 3x plus 2 followed by a 5x minus 4. So this will be the factorized value, and solve the equation accordingly. So your x will be -2 over 3 and the other one x will be 4 over 5. So that is the two answers that they are looking for here. As for part C, extract out the x first. You have x squared minus 16y squared at the back. That's not it, because you can still further simplify them. So you have x squared minus 4y squared. You can then write it as x plus 4y, x minus 4y as your final answer for your part C here. Moving on to D. Okay, so if you were to further rearrange this, the first thing that I'm gonna leave will be the 2x minus 1, as there's nothing else for you to arrange already. I'll just leave it there first. And then for the one at the back, I'll extract a negative 2a from both of them. So we have 2x minus 1 at the end of the day. As for the bottom, I will take out x and you have 2x minus 1. So from this, you can further rearrange and take out the 2x minus 1. You have a 1 minus 2a as the balance. The 1 is actually hidden here. If there's no value at the front, it's just 1. So as you can see, the numerator and denominator is repeating. So those two can be cancelled. And your final answer will just be 1 minus 2a over x. So that's how you get to your final answer. Question 3, test score of the last terms was 6, 7, 7, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10. Find the range. The range will be by taking 6 minus 10. 10 minus 6, you will get the results as 4. The mode here, the things that repeat the most will be 7. And the median will be the numbers at the center, which is 8. So I trace it by cutting them off like this. So that's how you get the 8 as your final answer. As for the next one, they were asking the median. Okay, so 50% of 200 students is actually 100. That's why you can just draw this line here and you should be able to get your answers. So it's actually 14. As for the interquartile range, you have to take 200 times 75%. That would actually be 150, and 200 times 25%, that will be 50th. So trace their respective value. When it's 150, the value is actually over here. Okay, that will be 15. And then if you were to trace the other one, which is 50th, that will be here. So the value of the 50 is actually 11. So 15 minus 11, the result should be 4 as your interquartile range. Moving on, calculating the mean. So you need to take the frequency and the score multiplied together. Dividing it with 200, then you should be able to get your mean. So your final answer of this should be 8.09. Okay. Then lastly, they gave you the frequency density diagram, and they expect you to trace out what's the mean here. So there's a few things that you need to know, which is to calculate the respective frequency. So we got our height as 1, frequency over class interval. So 80 minus 50, you will get 30 for this. So the first group, the frequency is actually 30. Okay, but I don't want to confirm it yet, because after you calculate everything, you must make sure that it will result in 200. So you have to do manual calculation on all the parts. So this is actually 3.5. And the class interval is 20 by taking 100 minus 80. So 20 times 3.5, we will get it as 70. So here goes the first 100 plants. Then the rest, you will have 4 equals the frequency over 10. So this will be 40. As for the other one, this is 3.6. So for this, it will be 36. And then the last one is actually 0.6. The gap here is actually 40. It is by taking 160 minus 120. So that will be 24 here. So let's try to add everything up. 30 plus 70 plus 40 plus 36 plus 30, 24. That's how you trace the results. So with all the frequency here, you can then proceed with your mean. But before that, you need to know the midpoint of this group here. So 80 plus 50 divided with 2, you get 65. The next group, it will be 90, 105, 115, as well as 140. So multiply them accordingly. So divide it by 200, then you will get your final answer. So let's key in our calculator and check the results. Okay, you will get your final answer as 99.75. Moving on to the next part, we have question 4 here. They were looking for the midpoint of this. So just take 1 plus 3 divided by 2 followed by 5 plus 9 divided by 2. So the coordinates of the m here should be 2 and 7, I think. So 2, 7 will be my final results of this. And they were looking for the perpendicular bisector, so I need to calculate the gradient first. So remember, the gradient of the 2 here cannot be used immediately because this is gradient of the original line. So if we are looking for perpendicular, you need to know that m original times m new equals to -1. The m2 here is actually an m new. By taking -1 divided by 2, you get -1 over 2. So they specifically mention it passes through m. You need to substitute the 7 and the 2 that you have identified, the midpoint, to it. So your C value should be 8, hence the final answer is 1 over 2x plus 8. So first thing first, in part B here, they mention position vector. You need to take note that it is actually your OP and OQ respectively. But to get to PQ, you need to know that you have to add a negative in order to change the direction into PO plus OQ. So this is why there will be a -2 inside of the negative brackets there. So through the calculation, negative multiply into -2, you get +2. +2 plus -2, you will get 0. -3 plus 5, you will get 2 as the balance. So the final answer is actually 0, 2. Okay, so R is the point that PR equals to 3PQ. So PR equals to 3PQ. Okay, so to get to PR is actually by having PO plus OR equals to 0.6. Okay, so PO is actually negative 2, 3 plus OR equals to 0 and 6. So OR's final value will be 0.6 plus -2, 3. So your final answer, -2, 9 will be your position vector of R. Moving on, we have question C here that goes by OT equals to T, OU equals to U, UY equals to 2YT. So what it means is that in total, it was being cut into 3 parts. So your UY here is actually 2 out of 3 of your UT, while your YT there is actually 1 over 3 of your UT. Okay, so this is what you get by deriving from. So to find OY, you will go through OU plus UY basically. Okay, so there's one very important information, which is you have to find your UT first. UT is actually UO plus OT. So since there's a change of direction, this is what you will get as the results. So OU now is actually U adding up with 2 over 3 of -U plus T. So through this calculation here, you have 1 over 3U plus 2 over 3T. If you were to further rearrange this, you can write it as U plus 2T. So it's up to you how you want to arrange it. But this is the answers that you will get after rearranging it. Okay, Z is on OT and YZ is parallel to UO. So what they mean by parallel is that, for example, if I were to draw a line here, so you will make them parallel first. Okay, this could be your Z location. So part 2 here, actually not much calculation is required, because from the UY part we already know the longer part is actually 2/3 of the entire thing. So to get to OZ is basically 2/3 of T. Okay, so this is actually using the scale factor way. That's why not much calculation is required here. Moving on to part 5, simultaneous. So for this, just use the elimination way. So 2 minus 1, you will get 3y equals to 9. So your y should be 3. When y equals to 3, sub into 1. 13 minus 6, you will get your results as 7. So your results will be 3 and 7 respectively. Okay, then from here you need to rearrange it. 2 minus x equals to x squared plus 2x plus 2. Sort them out, you will get your final results of 3x. Okay, then your x value would actually be x plus 3 equals to 0, x equals to 0, or x equals to negative 3. So with this 0 and negative 3, you can then proceed and find their y here. So when x equals to 0, y equals to 2 minus 0, your y should be 2. So one of it will be 0, 2, and the other one will be y equals to 5 instead. So your final answer, negative 3, 5. Moving on to question 6, okay, at maths level of sets question here. So 24 students, 18 students likes homework, 15 students like tests, 1 does not like both. Okay, this statistics here is clearly fake. I don't think anyone likes homework or tests. Okay, so the examiner must be trolling everyone. So I will put an x at the center. So 18 minus x and 15 minus x. Okay, so trace the results by running your calculation here. Add them up. 1 plus 18 minus x plus 15 minus x. It should be resulting in 24. So from the answers here, you will get negative x as well as 1 plus 18 plus 15. So you have 34 here equals to 24. Negative x equals to negative 10 by running the calculation. So your x at the center will actually be 10. So if it's 10, this will be 8 and here will be 5. So that's how you trace the value inside of it. Write down the numbers of students who like both, which is your h intersect with t. That will be our answers 10 here. Okay, the other one will be everything other than h intersected with t. So they're actually referring to this part. Everything other than h. It's actually this. And then intersect with t. So the overlapping part will be this thing only at the center. So that's how you write your results as 5. A student is picked at random from the class. Find the probability that these students like tests but not homework. So students chosen at random, there's 24 of them. Like tests but not homework at all, that will be 5 of them. So this is how you get to 5 over 24. Moving on, we have 2 students picked at random. Okay, so because it is 2 students now, okay, remember to decrease the denominator here, because in human related probability question, the without replacement is being set here. So both of the students do not like homework and do not like tests. So there's only one of them. So when you multiply with 0, your final answer will turn out to be 0 as well. Okay, so 2 students who like homework are picked at random. So students who like homework, there's a total of 18 of them. Okay, same thing, because it's regarding human, I will decrease the denominator first. Find both of them also like tests, that will be 10 and 9 here. So when we run the calculation, 10 over 18 times 9 over 17, you will get your final answers as 5 over 17. So that's how you trace the final answer here. Question 7a. Okay, so for this, -2 is not included, but your 1 is included. So this is how I would like the inequalities here. Arranging it in this particular form, because it's plus, I know that I'm using this. Okay, your A is actually the X there. So your B's final answer would actually be 2. So with this 2, you know that it is x plus 2 square plus 1 minus of the b that you added in. So x plus 2 square minus 3 will be your final answer. So for part 2, just replace whatever that you have identified and make it equals to 0. You got x plus 2 square equals to 3. X plus 2 equals to square root 3. Then you get your answers as x equals to square root 3 minus 2, or x equals to negative square root 3 minus 2. We get your answers as negative 0.268 for the one over here, after correcting it to 3 significant figures. And for the other side, the answers will be negative 3.73. So this is how you get your final answer here. Moving on to part 3, find the minimum point. So the minimum point is actually using the value that you already gotten. The x plus 2 square equals to 0, x will be negative 2. And your y is actually the balance at the back, which is our negative 3 there. Okay, this is all derived from your completing the square formulas that you gotten earlier. So the answers will be negative 2, negative 3. So they wanted you to sketch the graph. So a couple of things that you can write down will be by first factorizing it. We know that the both of the results is actually in the negative section. This one will be our square root 3 minus 2, and the other one is actually our negative square root 3 minus 2. And our turning point is somewhere at the center. Okay, and maybe this is our negative 3 here, and then this will be our 1. So So when you draw it out, it will look something like this. Okay, this will be your final answer. Question 8 is regarding your volume now. A solid cuboid measured by 20 times 12 times 5. So it's actually 1,200 centimeters cubed. Find the surface area of the cuboid. This time around, they purposely test you on this because no reference or graph was given to you. So you need to know that there is 2 on each side. So you have 20 times 12. There will be 2 of them. 12 times 5. There will be 2 of them. And also 20 and 5. There will be 2 of this as well. So the scale of it could be looking at something like this. So the 5 is actually here, the 12 is here, the 20 is here. Okay, so these are the reasons behind I multiplied this way. So through the calculation, you should get 800 as your final answer. As for the other one, the surface of the cuboid is painted. Okay, so the cost of paint is 1.52. So you will take 1.52 divided by 800. Since they are referring to cent, you need to multiply by 100 again. Okay, so 1.52 divided by 800 and then multiply with 100. So the correct answer will be 0.19 cent. A solid metal cylinder with a radius of x and a height of 4x is melted. Okay, all of it is used to make a sphere then. Okay, so radius of x, so it's actually pi r squared times h. So when you improvise this accordingly, it will be x squared times 9x over 2. So this will be the volume of the metal cylinder. And then make it sphere. Okay, the pi I will repeat and I cut it off first. And then for the 4 over 3, when you transfer it to the other side, you will get your results as 27 over 8. So to find your r, you need to cube root the entire thing. You will get 3 over 2x. That's your final answer here. So part C might be slightly challenging. The diagram shows you a cylinder of length 150 cm on a horizontal ground. Okay, so the cylinder has a radius of 20. The cylinder contains a water depth of 5 cm of the ground. Okay, and then they ask you to calculate it. Okay, so there's one thing that I can calculate for sure. That will be this. Okay, notice that there's a gap here that you can fill up. So because the radius is 20, so all of the sides should be 20 actually. Okay, but they told us here was 5, which means the balance should be 15 here. So with this 15, you can actually trace the value of half of the circle there. So that will actually by taking our square root 20 square minus 15 square. So for that you will get this as 5 square root 7. Okay, and then 2 of that. 5 square root 7 times 2, you will get it as 10 square root 7. So you have 20 on each side. then you may use your cosine rule to trace the value at the center of this. So for this, we'll get the value of angle value as 82.8. So with this 82.8, we should be able to trace the results already. Okay. So 82.8, I will be calculating the entire sector. Okay, minus off with the triangle. Okay, the entire sector goes by 82.8 divided by 360 times our pi times 20 square times 150. So for this, minuses off with half a b sine 82.8. Okay, please remember to multiply this with 150. Okay, so let's work out the results first. Okay, and then this answers here is not final. Okay, because they are looking for liters here, so you need to divide it by 1000, and then you will get your answers as 13.6 liters after correcting it to 3 significant figures. So that's how you trace your final value of this. Moving on to question 9, looking for the perimeter of the quadrilateral here. So we have 14, and so there's quite a lot of works to do here. So I will first find the opposite and hypo here. So sine 14 times sine 35. We get AD's results as 8.03. So you can take 14 square minus your answer square, square root the answers again, you will get 11.5 for the other side. So let me double confirm. 14 square minus 8.03 square, you get 11.5. Okay, or to be safe, I will leave it as 2 decimal place first, so you get 11.47. Then from here, you need to identify this angle value. That's by taking 180 minus 60 minus 45. So you have sine 75 over 40, sine 45 over unknown. So calculate this accordingly, you should be able to get the answers as 10.25. Okay, and fill up the blank. Then we have one last part, which is to identify the CB. So you will get your answers as 12.55 here. So add them all up, you should be able to get the perimeter, 10.25 plus 12.55 plus 8.03 plus 11.47. So the final answer of this will be somewhere around 42. If you didn't get the same answer as me, probably is because I did some premature roundings here. Okay, so to get the most accurate answers, make sure that you take 4 decimal place at least. Then you won't have this kind of rounding errors problems occurring. So I can actually double check and fill up the gaps. Okay, add them all up and double check. So you will get your answers as 42.299, which is approximately 42.3. So that's how you secure the question 9A's results. Moving on to B, they were asking you to calculate the length of the edge of the cube. The diagonal is 8.5. So if let's say it's a cube, here will be x, here will be x. The center of this, you have to figure it out. So it's actually square root of x squared plus x squared. So you actually have 2x square here. So from this you will get x square root 2 as the diagonal of the base. So with this you know that x square root 2 square plus x square, square root of this, you will get the results of 8.5 because they were referring to the other triangles over here. Use the repeat the Pythagoras theorem to get the results. So you will actually get 2x squared plus x squared equals to 8.5. So you have 3x squared in total. So to get to your x squared value, we will be taking x out from the square root there. And you have square root 3 inside with the 8.5. So x answer will be 8.5 divided with square root 3. You should get your value as 4.91. Okay, so that's how you calculate the length of the edge of the cube. As for calculating the angle between AB and the base, okay, so now that you have this, the x is now 4.91. The other one will be 4.91 times square root 2. You should be able to trace these results as it is the opposite and adjacent. So from tangent, so you know that your unknown equals to tangent inverse 1 over square root 2 will be your final answer. 35.26 degree or 35.3. That will be your final answer here. So we have about 2 questions left, so let's finish it. So for question 10 is a function question where you need to substitute 2 into the equation given. 6 minus 2, you will get the results as 4 for this. Moving on, we have our next question. G2 here, which is by taking 5 times 2 minus 7, you will get it as 3. So remember, for this type of question, it's actually referring to this. So we already calculated our F2 actually. F2's results was 4. So substitute this 4 into the 5 times 4 minus 7. You get your answers as 13. And lastly, to find the inverse of it, so remember the steps. Step 1, change fx into y. Step 2, swap their position. Step 3, rearrange and find your new y here. Hence your f inverse x is actually x plus 2 over 3 as your final answer. H of fx, they were referring to this. And you're required to replace this into all the x position of h function. Okay, expand it out, then you will get to this. Then when you finish up the calculation, this will be your final answer. 9x squared minus 9x plus 2. Find the derivative of hx. Okay, you are required to differentiate it. Okay, so this will be the final answer. For those who is unsure how it works, is that it is actually hx is x squared plus x. Okay, to get to the f h prime here, you transfer out the power, increase the power by 1. So if they didn't write anything, means it's 1. Transfer out the power minus the power by 1. So since it's x to the power of 0, there's nothing left but 1 only. So this will be the final results of it. And then they were asking you to find j inverse here. J inverse is actually 3 to the power of x. So swap them up, rearrange it using logarithm, log with a base of 3, and then you will have your x equals to your y. So your j inverse is actually log 3x. So when your log 3x equals to 4, 3 to the power of 4 equals to x. That's how you trace your final answer as 81. Okay, so for those who's not familiar with logarithms application, there's actually a video that I made back then. So I'll try to include a link in the video. You can click on the right hand corner, or you can browse the comment that I pinned or in the description box. So I will put it there for your convenience. So learn it up because it is very versatile and you can always use this in your indices question. So to find part number 2, to simplify this, there's actually nothing to do, because when your inverse and the function itself multiplied together, you just get x, whatever that was inside the bracket value there. If today they were giving you this, then the answer will turn out to be 7. So it will change accordance to what they set inside the brackets there. So erase this to avoid any confusion. The answer will just be x itself. So we are at our last question now, question 11a. So write down the next terms of this. So as you can see, each of the term is actually minus 4. Hence the next term of this will be negative 1 minus 4, which is negative 5. So write down the terms to terms rules of this sequence. It is subtract 4. Find the n terms of this sequence. It will be 11 plus 4 first. You get to 15. So 15 minus 4n will be the n term sequence of this thing here. In B, the n terms of a difference sequence is 2n over n plus 1. Find the difference between the 5th and the 6th terms of this sequence. So you need to find the 6th terms first. and then find the fifth term. The difference of this is actually 12 over 7 minus 10 over 6. So you get to your final answers of 1 over 21 for this. So that's how you get it in fraction form. And then they were asking, is 3 over 4 a terms in this sequence? Show how you decide it. For part B, number 2 here, this is a technical question instead of a solving type. The main assessment here is you need to know that your n term must always be positive and it must be an integer. So a few characteristics here, it cannot be negative and it cannot be in decimal form. That's why 3 over 4 is not a sequence, okay? It can be a value of it, but an outcome instead of a terms itself. So overall, this paper isn't that tough. The only challenging part that I find throughout the paper will be this 8C here regarding to calculate the water volume. Okay, and for those who is not familiar with a Pythagoras theorem and how to calculate the angles and stuff, you might find question 9b slightly challenging. The rest is just identical to your previous paper. Paper 42 from this particular year is way tougher than this. So if you have the time, feel free to test it out. And I wish you all the best in your upcoming examination. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.